I am Atalanta, daughter of Isis, though my father denied me from birth simply because I was born a girl. But I was not meant to be confined by the fate that others wished upon me. No, I was meant for more, meant to be swift as the wind, to run free through the forests and mountains, to prove my worth among men. And so, abandoned on a mountainside, I did not perish as my father intended. Instead, I was found by a she-bear who nursed me and raised me as one of her own. From that moment, I became a child of the wilderness, as wild and untamed as the creatures that roamed it. This is my story of my life, my trials, my victories, and my defiance of the world's expectations. I do not remember much of my earliest days, but I know that my birth was a disappointment to my father. He had wanted a son to carry on his name and legacy, and when I was born, he saw me as a curse. So, as was the cruel custom of some, he left me to die on the cold slopes of Mount Parthenian. But the gods had other plans for me. A she-bear found me, drawn by some maternal instinct or perhaps the will of Artemis, the goddess who would later become my patron. The bear nursed me and protected me, and I grew strong in the wild, learning the ways of the forest and the creatures that dwelled within it. I ran with the deer, climbed with the squirrels, and learned to hunt with the wolves. The wilderness was my home, and it made me stronger than any child of civilization could ever be. Eventually, hunters from the Arcadian wilderness found me and took me in, recognizing in me something extraordinary. They raised me as one of their own, teaching me the art of hunting, the use of the bow, and the way of survival. But most of all, they taught me that I did not need to conform to the expectations of men. I could carve my own path, just as I had survived against all odds. I grew into a woman, but I did not forget the freedom of the wild. I dedicated myself to Artemis, the virgin goddess of the hunt, who valued independence and strength. I swore to remain chaste, to live my life in the pursuit of excellence and freedom, just as Artemis did. I adorned myself in animal skins, carried a bow of silver, and moved through the forest with the grace and swiftness of a deer. My skills as a huntress became legendary. It was during this time that I encountered my first great trial, the Caledonian boar hunt. The king of Caledon, Ennius, had offended Artemis by neglecting to honor her in his yearly sacrifices. In her anger, the goddess sent a monstrous boar to ravage the lands of Caledon, destroying crops, killing livestock, and terrorizing the people. The beast was enormous, with tusks like spears and a hide so tough that no ordinary weapon could pierce it. Ennius, desperate to save his kingdom, called upon the greatest heroes of Greece to help slay the beast. Among those who answered the call were men like Meleager, Theseus, and Jason, but I, too, was among them. When I arrived, I was met with skepticism and disdain. The men could not believe that a woman would dare to join the hunt, let alone have the skill to face such a creature. But I stood tall and did not waver in my resolve. I knew my worth, even if they did not. Meleager, the prince of Caledon, welcomed me. He was different from the others. He recognized my prowess and treated me as an equal. And so, when the hunt began, I was ready. The boar charged through the forest with terrifying speed, scattering the hunters and goring those who were too slow to escape its path. But I did not flee. I stood my ground, and as the beast came at me, I drew my bow and loosed an arrow. My aim was true, and the arrow struck the boar in the eye, blinding it and slowing its charge. It was Meleager who delivered the killing blow, but it was my arrow that had made it possible. Meleager, in gratitude, awarded me the spoils of the hunt, the boar's hide. But this act of generosity only sparked more resentment among the other hunters, who believed that I, a mere woman, was unworthy of such an honor. They quarreled with Meleager, but he defended my right to the prize. It was then that I realized how deeply the world's prejudice ran, and how men's pride would not allow them to accept a woman's victory, no matter how deserved. But I did not care for their opinions. I had proven myself, and that was all that mattered. Though I had sworn to remain chaste in honor of Artemis, my fame grew, and with it came suitors from all corners of Greece. Men were drawn to my beauty and my skill, but I had no interest in marriage. I had seen the lives of women bound to their husbands' wills, and I refused to be caged in such a way. But my father, Isis, who had long since acknowledged me as his daughter after hearing of my achievements, was determined that I marry and produce an heir. I would not submit so easily. And so, I devised a challenge, a foot race. Any man who wished to marry me would have to beat me in a race. If he won, I would become his wife, but if he lost, he would forfeit his life. Many men, foolish in their confidence, accepted the challenge, and one by one, they fell behind me, unable to match my speed. Each time, they paid the price for their hubris. For a long time, no man could best me. I was the fastest runner in Greece, and I took pride in my skill. But then came Hippomenes, a suitor unlike the others. He was clever, and instead of relying solely on his strength, he sought the help of Aphrodite, the goddess of love. She gave him 3 golden apples, which he used during the race. As we ran, he tossed the apples one by one, and though I knew I should not be distracted, the apples were so beautiful that I could not resist. Each time I stopped to pick one up, Hippomenes gained ground on me, and in the end, he won the race. I was defeated, and though I had vowed never to marry, I honored the terms of the challenge. I became Hippomenes' wife, but our story did not end there. In their hubris, both he and I forgot to give thanks to Aphrodite for her assistance, and the goddess, enraged by our ingratitude, cursed us. We were transformed into lions, doomed to live the rest of our lives as beasts. Though my story ends in tragedy, I do not regret the life I lived. I defied the expectations placed upon me, refused to be constrained by the limitations of my gender, and carved out a place for myself in a world dominated by men. I proved time and time again that I was equal to the greatest heroes of Greece, and my name will forever be remembered alongside theirs. I was Atalanta, the swift-footed huntress, the slayer of the Caledonian boar, and the woman who dared to challenge the world. I lived my life on my own terms, and though the gods saw fit to punish me for my defiance, I remain proud of all that I achieved. Even now, as a lion, I roam the wilderness, free as I was in my youth, a reminder that no matter the odds, a woman can be as fierce, as strong, and as capable as any man. My story is one of independence, courage, and determination, and I hope that it will inspire others to run as I did, swift and unyielding, toward the life they choose for themselves.